Okay, you guys, so we have a new glue. You guys have heard about it the past couple of weeks. And I'm going to give you a little demo today. This is the new glue. It is called Universal Pro Epoxy. Look for that Pro. This is the glue that is little to no sliding and is a satin finish, not a clear. We have Universal Epoxy Kit, and that is super glossy and super runny. So this is a whole different glue. Universal Pro, that's the key word, and that's going to be in our glue section, but make sure it's Universal Pro Epoxy. It is a 2-to-1 ratio. If you have used our other glues, CG500, High Sol Loctites, any of those, they're all 2-to-1 mixes as well, or 1-to-1, sorry. CG500 is a 1-to-1, and what that means is that the device that you need to make these glues work looks like this. And first I'll show you how this works. We'll put everything aside. We don't need these. This was just for example to show you guys what your other glues might look like. They might have the 1-to-1 or the 2-to-1 side, but this Universal Pro Epoxy 2-to-1 mix, and with this contraption here, this is what's going to make your glue cartridge work. So you've got 2 items here, right? Might help if I hold them correctly. You want to have your dots, your circles facing the same direction, okay? You want to insert it into this little mouth here. There's a silver bar inside. There's also a little lever back here. With your thumb, as you move that bar, it opens up. Rawr, rawr, rawr. So yeah, it's a little monster too. Lower that bar with your thumb, and it's going to leave it opening, and then you're going to insert this little tongue inside here, right? Goes all the way through, pull it all the way out. Make sure this is lifted to pull that. It's nice and flush with this area. Then you're going to take your glue and match up the big side with the little side. It's going to have these little openings here. Get the glue inside that. Sometimes you got to push it pretty firmly. If this doesn't go down all the way, it's totally fine. Sometimes the glues are just too tight. I'm not going to overstrain my hands to close that. It's not a huge part of any of this situation. So if it closes, great. If it doesn't, it's okay. The next thing you want to do is press your lever up and push this in if it might go in some. And it comes with a 2-part static mixer, so it could mix inside this. If you put this on and squeeze a trigger, it will mix inside this. You can totally use these. We don't usually bother using these because number 1, they're expensive, and number 2, sometimes we don't need this much glue, and you have to use lots of tips throughout your project, so we don't usually use those. We do like to just mix on scrap paper. I've got a little silicone here, and you want to twist open your lid. It's going to have a little tip on it, a little point when you have those open and close. So twist it open. See how that is right there? That little star point right there is on that. That's also how you close it. It has to fit back on there just that same way to be able to close that, right? So take this guy off. I want you to squirt some out onto your scrap paper, junk mail, whatever you want to mix your glue on. And I want you to pay attention to if it comes, see how that did not come out at the same time. Just a nice small little push to check that. And then next I'll do it again, and now we have an even mixture. So don't use this part, only use the part that came out perfectly. And you can use whatever you want to mix things with. You can use toothpicks, you can use swabs, you can use paintbrushes and stuff like that. All right, you can mix with your little applicator sticks. You can mix with a toothpick. I'm going to choose to mix with a toothpick today because less glue is more. You guys have seen us mix like pretty heavy glue applications, especially if you're mixing glitter or mica powders into the glue. It does need to be a little bit thicker. But for the best process, less is more. All right, so I'm going to use a toothpick today. You can also use a syringe to apply your glue after you mix it. Lots of ways. There's no one way, but less glue is more. So after you mix this for a few minutes, all right, so I mixed it for a couple of minutes. This glue is also about a 2-hour working time, depending on the temperature in your room. If it's a hot room, you have less time. If it's a cold room, you have even more time. And it should be about a 4-hour cure time, depending on the temperature in your room. Also, I'm going to go ahead and put my lid on here before this gets messy, because it can tend to get messy. Remember, the little point on this end here goes in the point on that end there. Put those two together, give it a twist, and now you're done. Again, this device works with lots of glues that we use. You do not have to buy an extra one if you already have one. Next, you have to go to the item that we're working on. Today, you're going to get a demo on a little wheel. First, I want you guys to sand your items. If you're going to use items that get use, their exterior, please sand them. I like the heavier grits. That's going to be a 100 side, especially for cars. I want to see scratches, okay? I really, really want to see some scratches. That's going to help the surface area, the adhesion of your glues to get into those little tiny gaps. So yeah, you can sand lots of different ways, but here, if you don't see scratches in this office, it's not sanded enough, okay? This has to go through exterior conditions of snow, heat, and cold, expand and contract. You want your glues to stick to these things and really hang on. So that is nicely sanded. And let's give it a little cleaning with some alcohol wipe. Get that dust off of there. There we go. Back the other way. Now let's apply some glue. And it doesn't take much. This really was a lot for today's little demo, but it does not take very much. And I'm just giving you guys a little demo on this kind of a sample wheel. Nice and thin. 1 dot per stone is going to be your best process, but for the most part, for this demo, I'm just going to kind of apply the whole thing. And you see us do this all the time. And you notice how the glue is a bit milky? That's okay. That's the difference in a 2-part epoxy that's glossy. This one is not glossy. You will have a satin finish, right? Less glue is going to show up a lot less of this milky look to it, but it will cure satin finish. I have to keep saying that because most people think it's got to be glossy, or it has to be glossy, and it's not. So get your stones nice and tight. So there we go. How's that look? All right, so I've got my glue applied. It's nice, and it's a very thin coat with this toothpick here. You can use lots of things to apply your glue. Toothpicks get it nice and thin, and then let's add a couple of stones. The reason why we love this glue is because it has little to no sliding. So I'll start here with this size 20 or 5 millimeter. And we're just going to go kind of across each way. And what do you guys see? No sliding. The glue is not dripping off. I also want your stones to be super tight, super duper close together, right? A little over 1 hour of working, sitting, and no sliding. Would you just look at it? There you go, Universal Pro epoxy. Make sure it's the Pro. All right, 3 hours since mixing this. It's still a little sticky, but definitely not usable. And there's your time check right there. Started it right at 2 o'clock. And no sliding. And it's just barely tacky, but definitely past the adhesion time. There you go. Universal Pro epoxy.